We're counting down the top 20 best Game of Thrones men's costume seasons 1 through 7. Coming up. Welcome back to Costume Co. If you're new to the channel, I do almost weekly videos and I have a full range of videos analyzing the costumes of Game of Thrones. It took multiple polls on Twitter and YouTube and a thorough analysis, but with the assistance of aspiring costume designers Aaron LaFay and Tatiana Melendez, we have curated the best Game of Thrones men's costumes from the HBO series of the same name. Some of your favorites may not have made the cut, and it doesn't mean that we didn't love them, it's just that we had so little space for them. Heads up, this list will not include any armor. We are saving that for another dedicated video in the near future. So let's get right to the list. Warning, there are major spoilers for all 7 seasons of the HBO series Game of Thrones. Tragic irony. How did it go so wrong? In the Season 3 episode The Reigns of Castamere, Robb Stark is dressed in Stark finery, a black tunic with brocade sleeves. The coordinating cape made from a kind of wool boucle has a sort of claw-like feature made from the sleeve brocade with 2 silver Stark clasps holding the cape in place. The silver Stark direwolf cape closures are the standout feature. Theon's costume worn for Sansa's wedding is very similar to Robb's. Actor Sophie Turner confirmed the Easter egg, stating, "If anyone noticed, it was Robb Stark's costume, just FYI, to make it a little bit more brutal." And then Tatiana and Aaron say, "It's especially tragic that the most elegant either Robb or Theon ever look is at their worst point. In comparing how they wear the outfit, Robb looks like a handsome and proud young king. As for poor Theon, he looks like a pale shadow of a once great Stark." Tatiana's headcanon is that Roose Bolton had Robb's outfit duplicated and told Ramsay the meaning behind it so he could torture Theon with the information. For him, who knows the monster that Ramsay is, to helplessly give away his adopted sister, it must feel like the man he called brother and betrayed is condemning him to hell with every step forward, the weight of his memory lying heavy on his shoulders. Never have these two characters been more tragically linked than in this one costume. And then Tatiana and Aaron finish off by saying, "Watching Theon in this outfit, it feels like his spirit is being forced to give his beloved sister away in marriage to his murderer's sadistic son and to witness her rape through the body of a man who betrayed him. Talk about desecrating the memory of the dead." Victim of the Harpy. When I saw his gorgeous fully lined brocade robe, I immediately thought it looked North African. It's not quite the same construction. This one appears to have a collar or hood, but it has the appearance of the agbada, a traditional dress of the Yoruba people living in the southwest Nigeria. You might also notice that Hisdar wears this silver ring with a blue stone. Given the color, I'm assuming that was a gift from Dany. Tatiana says what she loves about Hisdar's robes is the exotic regality it has in its flowing elegance. You can believe that he could be a decent king or prince consort. Whether that's true is only known in the books. Placed next to Daenerys, it's easy to see who the domestic power is and who is the foreign power, yet they still look like a power couple with good potential. The robes contrast very well with Dany's pure white dress, the earthly tones among the cream making it look like he could ground Dany's near godlike loftiness down to reality, while the purple in the robes denotes his would-be royal status perfectly. Baby Oberyn. While we've picked on the costumes of Dorne, looking at you, Sand Snakes, Oberyn's nephew Prince Trystane can rival Oberyn's noble presence. Costume designer Michelle Clapton said in an interview with Fashionista that Trystane's outfit has a definite Indian inspiration. The fabrics actually came from India, and the costume design team dyed them the vibrant colors seen here. And then the large leather belt and chain come from Clapton's personal collection. Tatiana says, while I really like Trystane's pink and gold robes, I love this more in part because, with Myrcella at its side, it makes them look so much like a young Oberyn and a golden-haired Ellaria when we first saw them in Season 4. I don't often see paisley in film or TV, especially in men, and the fabric matching between it and the sunburst silk brocade of the hem is so strikingly beautiful, giving the handsome prince a vibrantly roguish look. Trystane lends so much masculine youth to the fabric with his good looks that you can easily see in him a teenage Oberyn, even if he would have been much more impetuous than his nephew. False fairy tale. All of Loras Tyrell's costumes are luscious, but this particular one caught our eye and compliments Sansa so well. Loras typically wears this silhouette of a long vest with a stand-up collar over a billowy sleeve shirt and fitted trousers. Aaron says that I've always found this look and others of Loras's to be full of secrets, like how he wears traditional outer garments but always wears his iconic poet's shirts with honeycomb pleats. In my personal belief that this is a representation of his homosexuality, like any other gay man, myself included, he wears what is expected of him, however, he always adds his personal flair to the garment. And as a fashionable rich young man who is not afraid of peacocking, as Tatiana would say, in front of Sansa or any young man who passes his fancy. I'm bringing sexy back. It's sassy, it's sexy, and it's leather, and it's also in keeping with Jaime's one-handed swashbuckling maneuvers, and the red of course says Lannister through and through. While Nikolai Coster-Waldau as Jaime always cuts a very fine figure in anything he wore, even rags, this is the sexiest we have ever seen him, says Tatiana and Aaron. Tatiana and Aaron add that, while simple, the mahogany red leather coat gives him a rugged charm and an action-oriented vitality. It also brings forth a certain boyish quality, like the clothes would be something he'd wear as a dashing squire in his youth. And finally, they say, ironically, he looks more like a hero in this outfit than he does in his own armor. Stripped of all the Lannister superficial glamour, he looks more handsome than ever in his journey to become his best self. Here are some close-ups of the details. On the left are the fabulous leather buckles, and then on the right, my personal favorite are these long straight stitches detail. I've mentioned on numerous occasions that Clapton always manages to level up with all of these little details. Lion King. Tywin really rocks the leather, and actor Charles Dance manages to steal almost every scene he's in. Viewer Larissa J says that the black punctured leather looks like he is trying to be fierce and look as though he's got armor on all the time. Meanwhile, A.U. Packmule had a bit of difficulty choosing his favorite Tywin outfit, stating, honestly, it's all close. Dance is awesome in any of these costumes. This is one of the first introductions of laser-cut leather to the series. This coat is made from a top layer of punched leather from leather suppliers D'Alessio Galliano, and it's lined with a brocade. And the final detail are these brass-lined fasteners. They are also featured on one of Joffrey's costumes as well. Aaron says that when we first see Tywin in this look, he is standing in a small council room, waiting for the other members to trickle in, and with his silence, we already know that Tywin has taken on the role as Hand of the King for the second time of his life. Aaron continues by saying, the skillfully laser-cut leather that makes up his costume adds to his prestige and imposing nature. His daughter later on would wear and try to emulate his power and spirit for her new wardrobe. Master of the Brothel. In the Season 1 episode, The Wolf and the Lion, Littlefinger ditches the surcoat in favor of this chocolate brown brocade, cassock-style coat. Tatiana and Aaron say that while we had already seen the brocaded over cassock during his scene with Sansa at the Tourney of the Hand, it brings a peculiarly disheveled elegance once he's within the safety of his brothel. Tatiana and Aaron continue by saying he is relaxed, he is in his element, and these facts coalesce to bring a different aura about him. His underrobe is silky soft and luxurious, which offers the audience a deceptive glimpse into his vulnerability when he reveals his past with Catelyn and Brandon Stark. This makes the viewer trust him a little before realizing how much of a traitorous, backstabbing snake he really is. Forced testimony. What makes this Varys costume worn during Tyrion's trial is the combination of textures from both the rich, oversized brocade in contrast with the quilted sleeves and facings. Of this costume, viewer Larissa J says, "No matter what, my vote would have been this quilted chocolate brown." Here's a close-up of the fabulous textures. In the natural light like we see here, the brown almost leans toward the purple. Tatiana says, "I absolutely adore this quilted texture of these robes, as well as the handsome quality. Together with the roughened texture of the embroidery, the plum and golden colors give him a warmth previously lacking, almost as if he's slowly and subtly revealing his true face, which truly comes to light with his aid in rescuing Tyrion. The way the light hits the costume transforms the quilted texture into almost scales, turning the spider into a snake or dragon and further cementing where his true loyalties lie." Happily ever after. Joffrey's wedding attire, like all of the members of the wedding party, is suitably decadent. He wears a gold brocade coat with a crimson cravat to tie into the Lannister colors. Michelle Clapton says this is Joffrey's wedding. It's meant to be this huge celebration of Joffrey. Remember, when he took over from his father, he redesigned the whole hall, so this wedding had to be more opulent, over the top. Tatiana and Aaron say, "You may hate Joffrey, but you can't deny he has a great fashion sense. What is interesting about this particular garment is the hidden secrets within it. For starters, unlike Joffrey's other coats, which boast strong and garish brocades, this pattern is delicate to near invisibility unless one takes a closer look." Here's a close-up of the delicate brocade from the Rubelli Venice collection. Tatiana and Aaron add that another point of interest is the symbolic union of the Lannister and Tyrell houses in the colors of the coat. While both houses have gold in their sigils, the mix of red and blue is seen in the mauve of the brocade. This, along with the silver in his antler rose crown, complete the symbolic picture of Margaery's increasing influence over him above that of his mother, Cersei. This is even more interesting when we notice that Margaery doesn't wear any red or gold in her costume. Joffrey may think that he'll dominate his wife, but in reality, he has already been dominated. And finally, they say, all in all, Joffrey may have kicked the bucket in a fabulously horrific way, but at least he did it with style. Poisonous snake. Before we ever visit Dorne, we meet Prince Oberyn Martell, sometimes called the Red Viper. Oberyn brings his Dornish flair to King's Landing, dressing in a series of vividly colored Persian-inspired coats, like the one worn in the episode The Laws of Gods and Men. Michelle Clapton says of his costumes, despite the substantial nature of some of the fabrics and the inclusion of metal sigils, Oberyn's costumes were in some ways quite feminine. There is something about the way that Pedro Pascal wore it, his masculinity, his total lack of fear of the feminine element, that made it so strong and deeply masculine on him. Aaron says, when first seeing Oberyn in this look, I could already tell that this character had masculinity in an elegant way, but also great amounts of sex appeal. The way the overcoat hangs off his shoulders and is barely secured with a belt, with the half carelessly open shirt that makes his chest nearly bare, just shows how effortlessly sexy and at comfort he is with himself and his surroundings. He enters the capital with the blaze of a rising sun. Roaring victory. Tywin is clearly one of the best-dressed men in Westeros. This is the only coat he wears cut in this asymmetrical fashion, a silhouette particular to the Lannisters. Tatiana says, before this, we've seen Tywin only wear either his suit of armor or severe, plain black clothes closed all the way to the neck. However, this outfit marks a subtle yet welcome departure from his usual closet. I like to think that this is the closest Tywin will ever get to peacocking and resting on his laurels. Seeing that he has just secured a major win by marrying Sansa to Tyrion and gaining control of the North, he's very justified in doing so. For once, he is secure in his future victory against the Starks, in part because he now has total control over Sansa, the key to the North. Tatiana adds, as such, he can take this time to show his smug confidence through his clothing. He cuts an impressive figure as always, the leather fabric and the cut still retaining Tywin's ever-present power over the rest of the congregation, especially the bride and groom. Meanwhile, the open lapel and the golden swirls give his attire a more relaxed elegance than we've seen in any of his other costumes without detracting from his intimidating presence. Chaos is a pit. Tatiana and Aaron say, when people think of Varys, this outfit is most likely what people will visualize him in, and with good reason. The pale yellow and blue robes brighten up the otherwise dim throne room in their simple elegance. They continue by saying, they also provide a lovely contrast against the dark extravagance of Littlefinger's cassock, while bringing out the golden accents in it. Maybe it is an unspoken symbol of their true allegiances and their rivalry. Siege of Meereen. Tatiana says this is easily Tyrion's best post-King's Landing costume. The Banarasi brocade jerkin is gorgeous, the intricate detail of the harp-shaped design being some of the best fabric the costume department has acquired. The chocolate brown shirt and tan pants not only perfectly complement the jerkin, their simplicity enhance its intricacy. The earthly tones give him a warmth that was often suffocated in King's Landing in favor of his emotional mask. This stunning brocade fabric is from the Tamise Carlotta collection at Henry Bertrand. Tatiana adds that, now that he is far from the pressures of familial obligation and abuse, he can be the great man and politician he was destined to be at Daenerys' side. This truly symbolizes Tyrion's new freedom away from his cruel family, now allowed to truly embrace and use his talents as future Hand of the Queen, even against such an obstacle as the siege. A mockingbird amongst wolves. We first see Peter wearing this houppelande, which is a type of medieval outer garment, upon his arrival to the Vale in the Season 5 episode The First of His Name. Of his cloak, Michelle Clapton says, he just becomes more opulent. It's his look, but it just gets bigger and grander, and he carries himself. Actually, his cloak is incredibly heavy, and it sort of gives him this bearing. Of this costume, viewer Sarah Scott says, the battle one for sure is the best. I also have always loved his sigil bird pin. Littlefinger, in my opinion, has been one of the best dressed men in Game of Thrones. And then Aaron says, with this look, Littlefinger is rocking his iconic houppelande, which has gold woven into the black tweed, while wearing a tarnished gold brocade underneath it, which is almost hidden until he makes a movement. Within this look, we have seen him do a great many things in his rise to power, and in this scene, he is sweeping in like an unwanted but needed anti-hero to try and gain even more power in the North by using Sansa as his pawn. However, we all know how it turns out for him. The Thornless Rose. Aaron says, with this look we see Loras full blown out in his Tyrell duds standing with his sister and grandmother. Together they, if I may steal a quote from Heidi, mirror the fictional family the Montagues with their brilliant blues against the horde of red Lannisters. Aaron adds that his costume also reminds me of an elegant watercolor painting, he himself no less gorgeous in it. The marriage of the actor and the costume give him the appearance of a fairy tale prince. A meeting of opposites. Tatiana says, it's almost funny how much Oberyn stood out amongst the otherwise drab surroundings of the throne room during his talk with Varys in this outfit. My headcanon is that he got prettied up to go flirt with a spider and find out what being with a eunuch was like. In any case, Varys is probably the only person to ever reject his advances, which I found hilarious. Tatiana adds, I have a weakness for pretty brocade, and the brocade in these robes are just exquisite in their lustrous detail. It's made ever better by the simple, masculine cut of the robes, which Pedro Pascal wears with effortless manliness. The open sunburst orange shirt and the hidden bling of his medallion finish the ensemble and give it an undeniable, careless sensuality, like he had just rolled out of a sexual encounter before coming to the throne room, which, knowing Oberyn, is the most likely scenario. Framed dwarf. Tyrion wears a variety of brocades and leathers, but for us, this is his best look in the series so far. It's luscious, it's decadent, and it's beautifully made. Like Tywin's leathers, the textures are created by layering this laser-cut leather on top of the dark red and gold fleck brocade, the same fabric as his sleeves, which allow the red to just peek through. This jerkin is made from laser-cut lamb leather. This sample is from New York Fashion Center Fabrics. Unfortunately, it's no longer available. Tatiana and Aaron say there is something so admirable about perfectly laser-cutting leather. Unlike with embroidery where a mistake is fixable, one wrong move can irrevocably damage the fabric and ruin months of work. So, to achieve the level of intricacy found in both Tyrion's wedding and purple wedding jerkins is nothing short of astounding, better than Daenerys' laser-cut blue dress even. They go on to say that the purple wedding garment in particular is absolutely gorgeous because the brownish black leather strikingly stands out against his red silk shirt, letting the audience better see the details. When placed against the rest of his red and gold wearing family, Tyrion's black sheep status is made manifest more than ever with that leather. They add, it provokes a foreboding sense of dread, which reaches its climax with his arrest and death sentence, cementing his eternal condemnation by them. The Brat King. We first see Joff in this dandy ensemble in the Season 2 episode Garden of Bones, where Joffrey orders Sansa brought to the throne room to answer for her brother's treason. Viewer Larissa J says that the brocade gets the nod from me. It's stylish, well-tailored, and superb fabric, while Throne Addict adds that it's so lovely with the intricate patterns, it's definitely the best he's worn in my opinion. It, however, does not reflect his character. The coat is made from this rich, woven brocade originally from top fabric of Soho. Like Oberyn and Trystane's costumes, the fabric is a heavy Banaras brocade imported from India in aubergine, a sort of red-purple color. Aaron says, the little brat always got the best costumes with intricately and breathtaking details. This beautiful gold and red silk brocade is wasted on that little pissant, but it does give the actor a real sense of regality and power that just feeds into his Emmy-worthy performance as the most hated character in TV history. He also wears this lustrous velvet face with gold silk mirroring how his grandfather Tywin wears his sash with his armor. Viewer Lickison meanwhile says, the sash in this choice here is like an added layer of foppish arrogance, breaking the otherwise pretty rigid and sleek design of his outfits. It makes him oddly decadent along with his crown askew. Chaos is a ladder. In the throne room, Peter has words with Varys in the Season 3 episode The Climb. This coat is fantastic. The fabric is a purple background with a slightly raised gold wood grain motif on top. This is my personal favorite, but because it was used so briefly, it didn't garner as much attention as some of his other costumes. This is by far Littlefinger's most luxuriously elegant costume, Tatiana and Aaron say. The way the light catches the golden accents in the fabric make it look like a vein of gold amidst a dark cave. They add, It is very reminiscent of the tiger's eye, a stone ironically used to achieve harmony and balance. With this considered, the overall costume could be a subtle symbolism of the mask he usually wears when manipulating people for his own selfish ambition. The irregular pattern of the fabric could signify Littlefinger's dangerously unpredictable nature, as well as his aspiration for the throne in the royal colors. Before we get to the top spot, here are some honorable mentions that are worthy, but we didn't have room left for them on this already jam-packed list. So number 8, Varys, spider in a dragon's web. Number 7, Viserys, wrong side of the coin. Number 6, Tyrion, reunion of the outcasts. Number 5, Joffrey, the royal fool. Number 4, Trystane, Dornish Romeo. Number 3, Oberyn, tip of the spear. Number 2, Loras, salt on the wound. And number 1, Doran Martell, the prince's eclipse. Mocker of the bride. For Sansa's wedding to Tyrion in the Season 3 episode The Bear and the Maiden Fair, Joffrey enjoys tormenting the bride and groom by asserting his role in giving away the bride. Michelle Clapton tones down the red and opts for this luxurious silvery gray and gold brocade. The coat is cut exactly like his red and gold name day costume from Season 2 with the extended shoulders and cape-like hanging sleeves. Tatiana and Aaron say there is an unnerving irony in the fact that the beautiful silvery gray and gold silk brocade of Joffrey's coat make him look softer and more youthful, while he's being so irredeemably cruel to poor Sansa and Tyrion. It just makes his already deplorable actions toward the couple that much more reprehensible, especially with how joyously he revels in their humiliating misery. And they add that he cast the Lannister red for a more bluish-gray color, particularly with his velvet sash, could also speak of how Marjorie has impacted his life. Perhaps he is peacocking in front of his lovely fiancée, a puerile attempt to impress the pretty girl. What was your favorite men's costume? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you to Tatiana and Aaron for contributing to this video, and also to Patrick Lemieux for the use of your gorgeous costume illustrations. In the coming weeks, I'll be bringing you more Game of Thrones videos before the new season begins. But in the meantime, check out the top 20 best women's Game of Thrones costumes. See you in the next video.